The rain had just stopped, leaving the city streets glistening under the soft, golden light of a late autumn afternoon. Through the misted windows of a quiet cafe, amber leaves and blurred silhouettes of passers-by painted a tranquil picture. Inside, the air was warm and inviting, scented with freshly brewed coffee and the faint sweetness of cinnamon pastries. At a corner table sat a woman in a tailored charcoal gray suit, her hands wrapped around a mug she hadn't yet touched. Isabel Maroa, name whispered in boardrooms, printed in business magazines, and respected in every corporate corridor, was known as the Iron CEO, decisive, unshakable, untouchable. But today, none of that mattered. Across from her sat Emily, a quiet little girl of 9, her soft brown hair framing eyes far wiser than her years. Emily had been born without a voice. She had learned to navigate a world full of sounds she could barely make sense of, communicating instead with shy gestures, written notes, and the gentle poetry of her gaze. Isabel had hired therapists, tutors, specialists, each promising a breakthrough, but none succeeded. For all her power and success, Isabel often felt powerless in the face of her daughter's silence. Today was meant to be a simple afternoon together, a rare pause from board meetings, deadlines, and the pressures of her high-powered life. Yet even here, silence stretched between them, fragile and weighty. Isabel offered a gentle smile, but Emily's attention lingered at the window, distant and contemplative. The quiet was broken when the cafe door opened, letting in a rush of crisp air and the scent of wet leaves. A man entered, late 30s, in a worn brown jacket and a plain sweater, hair falling slightly into his eyes. He ordered a coffee, then, spotting an empty table nearby, asked if he could sit. Isabel nodded absently, her mind half elsewhere. But Emily's eyes, curious and alert, watched him closely. Then, something extraordinary happened. The man looked at Emily and began to sign. At first, Isabel thought it was a casual gesture, but Emily's eyes widened, a spark breaking through her usual reserve. He was using American Sign Language, gentle, expressive, almost like a conversation in motion. Slowly, Emily responded. Her hands moved with growing confidence, her face lighting up with a smile Isabel hadn't seen in years. Isabel watched, speechless. Outside their small circle of therapists and specialists, Emily had never connected so openly with anyone. The man wasn't just teaching words. He was building a bridge, speaking a language of empathy and understanding. Finally, he looked at Isabel and signed. "I hope you don't mind." She shook her head, barely able to speak, her heart full of gratitude. When she asked how he knew sign language, he simply said, "My son was deaf. We lost him 2 years ago, but I promised I'd never stop speaking his language." The words hung in the air, heavy and tender. Isabel shared Emily's story, her struggles, her silence, the fear that her daughter would never fully connect with the world. Daniel, the man, listened quietly, with understanding, without judgment. Over the next hour, he even taught Isabel a few simple phrases. Emily watched her mother fumble through the signs and laughed silently. And for the first time in years, Isabel's mind wasn't racing with meetings or deadlines. She was present, fully present. As they left, Emily signed something to Daniel that Isabel didn't understand. He smiled and translated, "Thank you for talking to me." That night, Isabel tucked Emily into bed with a sense of hope she hadn't felt in years. She began learning sign language in earnest, practicing nightly, and slowly, Emily began to open up her silence, giving way to the joy of connection. Weeks later, Isabel and Daniel met again, this time intentionally. Coffee became a ritual, walks in the park followed, and gradually, a deeper bond formed. It wasn't about romance at first. It was about understanding, healing, and bridging two worlds through kindness and care. One crisp winter morning, as Emily signed a playful joke to Daniel, Isabel realized the true miracle wasn't perfection, it was connection. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a reminder that small acts of kindness can change lives. Support us at Whispers of Kindness. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment sharing a moment when a stranger's kindness made a difference. Together, we can keep spreading hope, warmth, and compassion, one story at a time.